The government has ruled out raising taxes to shore up deficit, saying that
God for fucking bid. I want to look at France, because France is going through like a moment right now. And I certainly love to see good protests. So let's take a look real quick.
French President Emmanuel Macron's government invoked a special provision of France's constitution on Thursday to bypass parliament in a bid to push through its controversial pension reform.
We cannot bet on if this reform is necessary. Oh my god.
The move received a frosty reception in parliament, with lawmakers singing the national anthem. The use of Article 49 of the
Protest, hell yeah. We need to protest more in America. We don't protest enough.
Which proposes raising the retirement age. It comes after public sector workers have walked off the job in droves, culminating in piles of trash building up around the French
Jesus.
I'm in Paris with
Where are you from?
A view of the iconic Eiffel Tower. But here's a scene that offers a less romantic vision of the city.
The country. Oh, interesting. That's cool. I don't actually think I even know where George is the country.
The garbage has not been picked up in Paris for over a week. This is in response to the unpopular government pension overhaul that has been proposed by French President.
Country in the Caucasus. Interesting. Is there a map I can look at?
Overhauling the pension system. He wants to raise the legal retirement age by 2 years to 64 and make people work longer before they can touch their pension.
Jesus.
Unions are unhappy with
not
the legislation.
State.
Millions of workers have gone on strike since January, when the current bill was first presented to Parliament.
Thank you.
Teachers, train drivers,
George is the
family
country.
staff from across the country are among those who have joined the strikes.
Interesting.
Recent polls showed nearly 70% of people oppose the reforms. But
Jeez.
changes are needed
67%. Wow.
Collapse and to maintain control of government expenditure. He has pledged to boost military spending and wants to bring the national deficit back in line with the European Union's targets.
Wait, what? Wait. He wants to boost the military budget for fucking what? The fuck is he boosting the military budget for?
He has
Go back.
pledged to boost military spending and wants to bring the national deficit back in line with the European Union's targets.
What the fuck would that even
France has
do?
one of the lowest rates of retirees at risk of poverty in Europe, but this comes at a cost. France spends close to 15% of its economic output on
Cool.
pensions. That's almost double what the US spends.
Okay. Wait. Okay. So this is my problem with these. You can look at these and be like, oh yeah, look how much they're spending. They're spending twice as much that we are on pensions that we do in the United States. Meanwhile, like a French citizen has by like fucking like leaps and bounds a higher quality of retirement than a lot of Americans. Most Americans still have to fucking work, not by choice. Like my mom like works because she kind of feels like it, but that's because she's bored. But most Americans, a lot of Americans don't even get to do that. A lot of them work because like housing costs have gone up so much, along with every other expense, then we don't do a cost of living adjustment for them. So like it's why you see a lot of older people who work in like Walmart as fucking greeters, because they can't they have to work. They never actually get to retire. Like the whole point of having a pension and having like a retirement age is so that people can enjoy their twilight years, can have actually spent like what, probably 30 to 40 years working, creating value for companies, contributing to the economy, contributing to society. And then like, they get to spend the rest of their time after that living out like the rest of their days in leisure. That's kind of the idea. We figured out a wonderful and positive way to cap off somebody's like role in society. And like as we've developed, we've like worked like a lot, like in at least in the US, we've worked to take that away from more people. And even then, we only developed this in like the 30s. Like this is not something that's been around for super long. It's like, but it's something that like certain politicians of a certain stripe have been consistently trying to dismantle and take away from people. Like it's literally a solution. We found the solution to what do we do with the old people? We let them live and enjoy their lives and have them just pay into the system by like buying shit and everything else. And like I hate to see that shit. Like it's fucking stupid. Like you can say like, oh, they spend twice as much. But I'm like, look what they're getting out of that. They're getting so much out of spending twice as much. They have the lowest rate of like senior poverty and everything. That's good. I do not want them to be at our level. But of course you have this fucking neo-lib like Macron who's like, well, we need to get things in, we need to tighten our belts even though we're going to increase the military budget, which makes utterly no sense. Like what are you getting out of that? France is in a war right now.
The country's pension system is expected to run a deficit of 1.8 billion euros in 2023. That's set to keep increasing to 21.2 billion euros.
Oh, fucking tax the rich.
As the population ages, the number of workers who fund each pension check is shrinking. The government has ruled out raising taxes to shore up deficit, saying that
God for fucking bid.
that taxes in France are already high.
Fucking tax the rich more. See, this is always the thing. It's like you don't have to just tax like working people. Sorry, Yaninox. I am from Virginia, technically, in the United States. I mean, originally I'm from like Paraguay in South America, but I was adopted and came to America, so I'm pretty American. But anyway, like, it's always when it's not an option. Like, God forbid you've just fucking taxed the wealthiest in your society. Like, God for fucking bid.
Français n'emporte pas une majorité, l'adhésion d'une majorité de Français. Mais nous sommes convaincus que les alternatives, augmenter les impôts,
the alternatives, raising taxes, increasing the debt, lowering the pension of retirees,
n'emporterait pas davantage l'adhésion de l'opinion.
This isn't the first time Macron tried to overhaul France's pension system. In 2019, he proposed to streamline France's 42 different state pension plans, which vary in retirement age and income, into one universal system. He also wanted to introduce bonuses and penalties to encourage people to work until the age of 64.
Jesus.
This led to strikes across the transportation system.
I mean, at the end of the day, I like how many people have come out for this, because at the end of the day, this is them telling their government, nah, dog, I'm not taking this hit. You go and find somebody else, which should be, I think, like, you know, when it comes down to it, this sort of like raise in the pension age is going to negatively affect an incredibly large portion of France's population, whereas raising taxes on a specific sector, or at the very least a specific wealth threshold, would only hurt like a minuscule amount of people in a way that they won't even really notice. So like, it's like at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, like tax the ultra wealthy in your country a little bit more then. Like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? Fucking, even if they move, be like, all right, go ahead. You want to take your money out of the country, then we'll like tax you further. But like the society has already decided, like, no, we're not doing this. Like we're not fronting the cost of this.
The country for weeks before the government shelved its plans as the COVID-19 pandemic.
Red alert, what's happening?
But some economists say the proposed changes won't keep the system afloat for long.
Why red alert?
Many see the fight over pension as the last stand in defense of France's social welfare model.
J'y vois une régression des droits sociaux, assortie d'une procédure politique qui est épouvantablement antidémocratique, et voilà, je proteste.
Also, they just pushed this through against the will of the people, which also doesn't look great.
But the government struggled to cobble together enough votes for it to pass through the lower house of parliament, the National Assembly.
The National Assembly.
Macron's move comes at a high political cost. Protesters in opposition parties that have painted Macron as an authoritarian now have more ammunition to mobilize the masses. Demonstrators took to the streets after Article 49.
I don't know if it's Marxist. That's probably
a number of parties.
If you ask any of these people about Marx, they probably wouldn't actually be able to answer that. But it is certainly a protest against, at the very least, it's a protest that I think, honestly, I would argue this sort of protest, this sort of protest and like the concern over workers and retirees' rights, I think is rather universal. Let's take a look. I want to look at something. Yeah, I'm sure. Might not be suitable. Okay, yeah, naturally. Turn that the fuck down.
Fiery clashes between police and protesters in Paris last night. Demonstrators burned cars and garbage, furious over France's widely unpopular pension overhaul. The outrage reaching a boiling point after President Emmanuel Macron resorted to special constitutional powers after he didn't have enough votes to pass a bill raising the retirement age from 62 to 64. Macron has argued the change is necessary to keep France's pension.
Well, the thing with Marx, so this is the thing with Marx. I've never read like I haven't read Marx like I haven't read Capital or like any of Marx's theory, and I kind of don't. I like part of me does and part of me doesn't want to read it because like I find that there are people who treat texts like that as like dogma, right? Like some people swear by like everything Marx wrote, and I don't necessarily really think that that's the right way to view like political theory, especially like when we know that like Marx wrote, all of Marx's writings are from a very different time and from a very different like world that like in terms of the way things are organized in society in 2023 compared to when Marx was writing Capital or any of those writings. So it's kind of like when it comes to Marx, like what is the Soviet Union, China? So okay. So here's the problem with the Soviet Union and China. Neither the Soviet Union nor China at this point, certainly the Soviet Union wasn't really communist to a degree. There's an argument to say that it never was communist, mainly because of the state capital approach that they took, but also for the fact that there wasn't worker control of the means of production. It was state control of the means of production, which isn't the same thing. Same with China. Like China is, as far as I understand it, like Maoist at best. But even then, like what's it called? Even then, I don't really know if I'd call China Marxist, since they're also state capitalists. Like again, there's no worker owned means of production, which is the pretty much the like litmus test, at least in my opinion, to Marxism socialism. Like if we're talking about true and authentic Marxist socialism, then there needs to be that worker control of the means of production. If not, I don't really think it's the same necessarily. It's necessarily the same thing, from a like.
But since the start of the year,
ideological standpoint,
nationwide protests and multiple major strikes.
Paris. Bro, we need to do more of this in America. Jesus, man. Like I think they're all, from what I heard also, there's like laws in France, like the cops cannot just shoot you if you pose a threat. So like there's also a little more of like an even playing field between protesters and police, which I absolutely support. We like, certainly the police, like there's a certain amount of like keeping the peace, but you also have to balance that with like police also have their own motivations and have their own interests in what they believe is like the peace. I mean, at the end of the day, they got fucking riot shields and everything else. It's not like they're certainly not at a disadvantage here. Maybe by numbers at best, but even then, I don't really think that's... Man, holy shit. I'm assuming that's like tear gas possibly, or just like maybe a smoke grenade. Okay, that was kind of a French throw right there. Yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, these guys are like in place to reinforce the order that the government, who just undemocratically took pensions away from people, implemented. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, that's kind of what the this is what happens when you go against the people. You know, there's always the what was that shit from V for Vendetta? A government should be afraid of its people. A people should not be afraid of its government. Absolutely, protesters have more rights. In America, in some states, you can run over protesters with no liability. I think they passed that law in like one of the Dakotas, maybe, and like in Florida. But yeah, the good for them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what protests should be. Protests are not meant to be convenient. They should be incredibly inconvenient to the society. It's not a protest if it's not. It's just kind of you organizing a little bit. You know, it needs to apply, like, protests need to apply pressure. But the thing that they tell, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to